Hi dears, here is Edith from Step Into Your Brilliance. In this video, Eckhart Tolle talks about the Painbody, as he calls the energy field within us, which stores and maintains the emotional pain within us. He even speaks of its own entity, which has something like its own survival instinct and does not want to die under any circumstances. And he gives us practical tips on how to deal with it in the most healing way. So, just listen and enjoy.
Being total with whatever you are doing at any moment, or rather in the one moment. Expressed also in another Zen saying that a master once answered when his disciples said, they talked to him of another master who could walk on water. And they said, he can walk on water, what can you do? And he gave the famous reply, when I'm hungry I eat, when I'm tired I sleep. Doesn't everybody do that? What he means is he does nothing else at that moment. He has no stuff around eating when he eats. And no stuff around sleeping when he goes to bed. No resistance. No demands. This moment is just as it is. There's no self that moves into the action, whatever he's doing. No expectation. This moment is enough. Not expectation always implies you're hoping that some future moment will be fuller through this moment, through doing something at this moment. But if you haven't found the fullness of this moment, you can't find the fullness no matter what the next moment contains, because the next moment is this moment, always, when it comes. So carrying the burden of self into what you do greatly reduces your sense of aliveness, greatly reduces your intelligence, intelligent, not IQ intelligence, true, deeper intelligence, and makes life heavy because yourself, the sense of me, with its unfulfilled expectations of this or that, or its complaints about what's not happening now, or whatever it may be, that's the heaviness that then flows into what you do. Because every self is heavy, there's then no lightness in life. You could even have stuff around sitting here at this moment, not totally wanting to be here, complaining about this or that, carrying some memory from the past into here. Or very common thing, would rather be somewhere else. So you're not total, not truly, fully here, because there's self, the burden of self, which is mind stuff. It's a conceptual self. And it's in its very nature that it cannot be fulfilled in the present. It looks always to the next moment. Its state is unfulfillment. And that's not personal. And the strange thing is that sense of being unfulfilled makes up a large part of what people conceive of as themselves. Their personal sense of self. All it is, it's a mind pattern, collective human mind pattern. And it's mistaken for me, my dilemma, my sense of not enough. And perhaps it was the Buddha 2,600 years ago who was the first human, I don't know, who realized the illusion of self, who realized the truth of no self in any form, any thought, any emotion, any external form or internal form. He realized the truth of anatta. There's no self in it. And if you're looking for self, there's dukkha, suffering. So there's only suffering if you're looking for self in thought, for self in an emotion. If thought is endowed with a sense of self, and every emotion is endowed with a sense of self, is not recognized as just a human emotion passing through. Thoughts passing through. Or external situations where I'm looking for myself through something or other, through some external possession, through fame, through recognition, whatever it may be, through my father or my mother understanding me. So you cannot find yourself anywhere. And so the Buddhists have the strange expression, no self, as the essence, sometimes even called, and that's frightening to the ego, emptiness. All it means is stillness, a still mind, or rather no mind, emptiness, and yet what is there when the mind is still? There's something there, but you cannot define it because it has no form. Something, not even a thing. Any word you use is wrong because every word derives from the world of things. Remember to be here in touch with your inner energy field, otherwise you'll become restless and start thinking. When you become restless, you've lost touch with a deeper sense of being and moved into the head. And then unconscious body movements can sometimes happen. Emotions are also restless then, but you are not usually conscious of it. I can sometimes tell when people are not fully here, their legs or feet start shaking. Their eyes go drifting. They're looking for somewhere else, some other place. They've moved into the head. In the meantime, the legs go. And it's quite normal. Many people spend a lot of time sitting like that. And when you notice it, then another dimension has come in. There's an awareness suddenly that the leg is shaking or the restlessness, and suddenly you notice it. You notice certain involuntary movements or whatever it is. Oh. And that's very significant, the noticing, because awareness is there, presence is there. It's only then you can see what's going on inside you. When there's no presence, you don't know what's going on inside you because you're so identified with going on. You are what is going on. You don't know what's going on. You're acting it out. You're an actor who has forgotten that he or she is acting out a script. You're totally in it. And it's all conditioned. And then people's behavior becomes predictable. You can tell from people, relatives, and so on that you've known for a long time that most of people's behavior is predictable. You can even predict what they're going to answer when you say something, what their reaction is going to be. Predictable reaction. But whatever you can observe in yourself means you're conscious enough to observe something in yourself. That's all that's needed. You don't really need to change anything as such, because then you have another dilemma. And that dilemma is part of many people's sense of self, and that is, there's something wrong with me. And many people have that. There's something I need to repair, whatever it is. Now, you could either say there are two statements we can make here and just two different perspectives on it, and they're both right in their own way. There's nothing wrong with you, and there's something wrong with everybody. As long as there's no presence, of course there's dysfunction. But the moment you notice that, there's nothing wrong. Awareness is all that's needed. Presence is all that's needed. For example, when you become conscious of your legs shaking, soon after it'll stop shaking, because it was only shaking because you were unconscious of it. It would be rare for a human to consciously shake their legs and say, okay, I'll just carry on shaking this leg. They don't do it. Oh, and then after a while it dies down because your attention was there. It's flown into there and you see that, and then it slows down and goes. Another one is to notice that you are unfriendly towards the present moment. And does that mean there's something wrong with you? No, you're something supremely right with you, because you are conscious, you are aware that you're unfriendly with the present moment. That's all that's needed. If there's something wrong with you, truly wrong, you don't even know it. Because when you become aware of so many ways in which you create heaviness in your life, in which you resist the present moment, in which you add stuff to the chopping of the wood and the carrying of the water, and the mental commentary while you carry the water. This is awful. How much longer? She feels much heavier than yesterday. Why do I have to do this? Why don't they carry the water? They should be. All kinds of mind stuff. Am I getting weaker? All kinds of whatever it is. I shouldn't be carrying water. I've been doing it for 10 years. It's other people's turn now. Nobody acknowledges me that I'm carrying this water. They don't even thank me. Hard work. Carrying that water is hard work. But 80% of the energy that is expanded on carrying the water is actually mind stuff. The heaviness that the mind produces. Otherwise, there would just be that. It might be a heavy bucket, but it's not really. It's just easy. So it's wonderful to realize there's nothing wrong with you. And the more things you discover in yourself that had been unconscious, the more you are fulfilling your destiny on the planet, which is you become a manifestation of consciousness arising. You go beyond the merely personal, the delusion of a form identification. A heavy thing for many people is the pain body. which is the reason why many people think there's something very wrong with them, because periodically they suffer an influx of heavy emotion, painful emotion, negative emotion, fear, deep sadness, very dark mood, anger, all kinds of forms of upset. And even those in whom consciousness is already arising, presence is already arising, they still find themselves, in many cases, at the mercy of the periodic arising of their pain body, which is past pain, remnants of past pain that are still alive and have accumulated inside you as a little entity. Personal plus collective. Part of it is the collective pain body. It could be the collective pain body of your family, that's part of your personal pain body, or the collective pain body of the part of the world you live in. Some are heavier than others. And certainly it will be also partly the suffering of humanity, the collective pain body of humanity, and everybody has his or her share of that. And that is a little energy form in you. And that's obviously that's what it is, because every form is an energy form. Every thought is an energy form. The table is an energy form. Just looks solid, it isn't. And also an amazing realization from physics. It's 99% empty space, but it looks solid. Same as the body. 99.999% empty space. So the pain body is energy, an energy form. One could say almost like a little entity made up of emotion, an emotional entity. And just the same, the pain body is energy, life energy, trapped, that's all. Created by the ego, by thousands of years of living through an illusory sense of self and creating a reality on the basis of that illusion. Living in a world of enemies, because that's the ego's world. Creating enemies wherever you go, not being able to live without them. Making the whole world appear hostile towards you, having to fear every little thing. Of course, that creates a lot of pain. And even though presence may be arising in you, and in all of you it is, you may still find yourself being taken over by that thing when it wakes up from its dormant stage. Might be dormant for a week or 2 or 3 or 4. And then at some point it wants to experience more pain. It wakes up. And then it tries to find out what's going on in your life right now. It looks for an opening where it can go into your mind. And so that could be a slight upset with something while you're driving. Traffic, a driver cuts across, and there's a slight, oh. And at that moment, the pain body uses that as an opening and flows into that little upset. And then before you know it, the little upset has developed into a stream of negative thinking about the world and in general and yourself. and other people and the stupidity of them all. And before you know it, the little thing has grown into a huge field of heavy negative energy. Oh, that's the pain body. It was waiting for it. And of course, pain bodies help each other. So the driver who cut across you was probably possessed by his pain body. So I'm going to show him. The phenomenon that's called road rage, where two drivers stop their cars and start attacking each other physically, means when two active pain bodies happen to meet on the road, that can happen. Not only two active pain bodies, but two active pain bodies in two humans in whom not the slightest trace of presence has yet arisen. They are totally identified with that. And they can't help it. They're driven to it. So the pain body becomes part of the self. It amplifies the already heavy and dysfunctional self, even without the influx of the heavy past emotion that is in the pain body. So even at the best of times, there's a heaviness, there's that sense of self, of me. But that becomes amplified through the old emotion of the pain body. It uses the structures, the mind structures of the egoic self, and flows into them, and then they become, it's like putting higher voltage into the heaviness of the ego and the dysfunction of it. You just plug it into. And so the other have all the egoic structures plus an enormous amount of emotion, raw, needing desperately to experience some more drama or pain, wanting more pain. One way of looking at that is in human beings the addiction to emotional pain. And if you ever discover that in yourself, that at that moment you're loving it, indulging in negative thinking, for example, which is one way in which the pain body renews itself, feeding on your thinking, your thought. Every thought feeds it. And the emotion fuels the negative thinking. The thinking feeds the emotion fuels the thinking feeds the emotion. Vicious circle. Go on, it's great. Then at that moment you don't want to get out of your pain. So if the pain body may be feeding on your thinking, maybe feeding on other people's reactions. And at that moment you don't want anything else. You want that because you are the pain body at that moment. There's an addiction to emotional pain. So if you get drawn into a stream of negative thinking about life, about other people, about yourself, about whatever it may be, or one person, which could be yourself or your partner or your father or some politician. Not mentioning any names. And whenever the image of that person comes into your head, there's an enormous influx of pain. But again, we could easily misinterpret the pain body as being personal, and as unconsciousness being a personal shortcoming of someone. But all that, if it's a politician or your partner or whatever, but all that is there is the expression of human unconsciousness and the pain body. Wonderfully expressed in the words of Jesus, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." Or in the modern translation that hasn't been published yet, "They are completely unconscious." And when that is the case, they create suffering. And when you react as if there were a person there who knows what he is doing, you also become unconscious. The reaction can make you unconscious. The reaction can take you over. And then your own pain body suddenly is there. And the pain body contributes to the fact that many people believe there's something wrong with them. And there isn't. It's the human pain body. And when that is the case, they create suffering. And when you react as if there were a person there who knows what he is doing, you also become unconscious. The reaction can make you unconscious. The reaction can take you over. And then your own pain body suddenly is there. And the pain body contributes to the fact that many people believe there's something wrong with them. And there isn't. It's the human pain body.
I don't know about you, but I have always found it very difficult to understand the interplay between consciousness, that is presence, and unconsciousness. Eckhart brought a lot of light on this difficult to understand subject, which can only be experienced by being present anyway. I love this talk because for me it is very helpful. I invite you to keep checking back here because I want to support and accompany you in your evolution on the path to wholeness and happiness in this very special new time. I want you to step into your brilliance and keep shining. Have a good time. See you tomorrow. Bye.